it's less important about the structure and more important about kind of the actual content, right? So we may jump around a little bit, but what's really important, I would say, when you ask like of that piece, is the results are really interesting to us, right? We really like to measure whenever possible, and we understand that while not every example can be quantified, right? Meaning you didn't necessarily have a before and an after and a specific metric. If that is available, right? We love a really good sort of qualitative or quantitative data point to kind of bolster a great story, right? Of course, we hope for positive outcomes, but that doesn't always happen, right? Meaning a product may fail at some point, right? Look at the Fire Phone, right? I mean, that was a pretty big failure. We learned a ton from that.
I had one.
And you had one, great.
I got one
of
absolutely.
the few and proud, right?
Yeah.
So there were good things in that failure, right? And we learned a ton that we have since applied. So some of it is like, with the result, it's the reflection as well. It's like, okay, what data do you have to show it was successful? How do you know it's successful? And if it wasn't, let's be introspective. Let's think about looking backwards. What could we have done maybe to get to a different outcome? Or how did we take what we learned there and apply that in a future product, right? Or project, something like that. So STAR is great, but remember, it's not a prescriptive thing. Just be thinking about that in your mind. It's like, I'd love to cover off all those dimensions of any particular story that I'm talking about. And again, think about data too. We're very data driven here, but we recognize that it's not always available. But if it is, we'd love to know what story that data is telling us as well.
Yeah. The one thing is, though, I think the situation, I think about that a lot. Right now, we have a lot of people looking for jobs, and perhaps they're looking for jobs in industries that are different than the one that they're in. And so I think one piece of advice would be to really make sure you're not too specific about the situation. You might be interviewing with somebody who doesn't know anything about your industry. So I tend to do that a lot. I've been with Amazon for 9 years, and I may talk in a way that is so specific to Amazon that if you're giving an example, it might be hard to follow if you aren't working at Amazon. So my rule of thumb is to explain something to my sister who's an ER nurse. And if she can understand the situation and the whole example, then I think that is a good way to frame a response. Because I know when I've interviewed folks, sometimes I spend more time trying to understand that situation because I'm from a different industry. And so just finding a good balance of how to explain the situation in front of you to somebody who may not know anything about the industry that you're coming from, I think is a good tip.
Yeah, that's great. I often tell people the candidates that I'm talking to are mostly smarter than I am and work in a lot of different areas. And so I say the same thing. I say, explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old and assume I know nothing about, like, if you're a user experience designer, assume I know nothing about that and try to put it in terms that even I can understand. But that brings up a really interesting point too with like STAR as well. I think another tip is try not to talk for minutes on end, right? If you're in an interview and you're asked a question, the interviewer's job is to kind of elicit that information from you, and they will ask lots of really good follow-up questions. So don't feel like you need to explain, if you're interviewing with Amazon or anywhere, the entire story end to end with everything in one fell swoop, right? We like our interviews to feel more like this, right? More sort of conversational, back and forth, rather than, one mic and just like hold it there for minutes on end. It's like, it should flow, hopefully. And we recognize too, because to your point earlier, like, you've been here 9 years now. That's a long time, but I'm sure you remember your interviewing experience with Amazon.
Oh yeah.
Right? And we all know that it is intimidating, and we've all, the nice thing is, I think, to remember is that every one of our candidates, as you're coming in to talk to us, just remember, like, we've all been there as well, right? And we remember what that's like, and remember that's not easy. And so I think, keeping that in, the further we get away from that, right? The longer you've been here, it can be harder to remember, but maybe as an interviewing team, we're reminding ourselves of that. We've been in that chair across the table before or across the other side of the lens. And that's really important, right? To have that compassion and to understand that the people that we're talking to are not professional interviewees, right? They do lots of different things, as do we, right? And so having a bit of grace and being understanding and knowing that, it's a conversation, right? And everything isn't going to go perfectly and smoothly every time. That's okay. We expect that. We are all human, and that's part of the fun of being human, right? Is little things that you kind of don't expect and all that. So I like how you talked about the STAR method, and I like how it's really important to think about that. But again, it shouldn't be a long soliloquy, right? It should just be, hey, back and forth interviewer will ask lots of follow-up questions, you'll give examples, and so on and so forth. So that's the ideal interview in that situation, right?
And I think the one thing I hope that all candidates, I wish all candidates knew, is that when I'm sitting down at least to interview a candidate, I want them to get the job, right? I've set aside time to meet this person, and I really want them to get the job. And so I feel like that's an important thing for candidates to know is, we're inviting you to come in and to interview, whether it's with Amazon or another company, and we're rooting for you. We want you to get there.
Yeah, the best possible outcome in that scenario is the candidate gets the job, right? Because obviously the candidate hopefully will be very excited about the opportunity, and as a company, as Amazon, we get a great Amazonian that can go on to do amazing things, right?
So we have a lot of different roles available. What happens if, the first job that you come in for isn't a match? What should an applicant do?
Yeah, it's interesting, and not every job is going to be a match, right? And so it's a really interesting question. I would say that what we hire for is we try to hire for Amazon first, meaning we try to think, is this candidate a good fit for the company, right? That's the first and most important question to answer. Beyond that, then, there are a ton of different opportunities and teams like we've talked about. So even if that first opportunity doesn't necessarily pan out or work out the way that we initially thought, right? There are so many, it's really, really important to remember. And as we continue to grow as a company and offer more opportunities, that's only going to become even more true.
I think we have a lot of really good tips here, but there are two things that I want to make sure we touch upon. And one of them is just really bringing your whole self to the interview and bringing just authenticity. While it's very important to prepare and learn about Amazon, interviewing goes two ways. And so you're interviewing the company, you're interviewing Amazon as much as we're interviewing you, and just really showing up authentically, being really true about who you are, and then preparing questions that you really have to make sure that Amazon's the right fit for you is really important. Do you agree with that?
I totally agree, and I think to build on what you said, asking really good questions of your interviewers is such a great idea. I think not just to learn about the company, like you mentioned, but also, and so this is like a great opportunity for for candidates to interview us and find out, hey, what do you like about it, right? What keeps you here? What challenges are there in your role, right? Where are the opportunities, do you think, for Amazon to improve? Like, ask the really tough questions, right? Because to your point, it should be a two-way interview. And we understand that in this job market, right, there are so many openings that chances are if they're talking to us, they're probably talking to a lot of other companies as well. And so it's incumbent on us to kind of give them a great experience, right, as candidates, and to ensure that, we give them the opportunity to talk to us and learn about us as well. So I love that call out. It's really great. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. Hopefully there was some great tips that you all gleaned from this session, and we wish you the best of luck in your interviewing with Amazon and your career beyond.
So many pro tips. I was taking notes. I hope you were too. Preparation really is the key. Up next, I will let the next segment do all the talking. Because hey, we are launching something really fresh and new here.
Alexa, does Amazon have opportunities for women looking to restart their career after a break?
Rekindle is an initiative to provide a launch pad to women who have taken a break in their careers due to any circumstances. Do you want to receive more details on an email?
Yes.
Alexa, what are some of the leadership principles followed at Amazon?
We use our leadership principles every day, whether we are discussing ideas for new projects or deciding on the best approach to solving a problem.
How do I find the right job opportunities at Amazon?
To discover opportunities at Amazon, the first step is to visit the Amazon career site and search for a job of interest. You can search by locations, business categories, job categories, or keywords.
Alexa, what is the day one culture at Amazon?
You'll also hear us say that at Amazon, it's always day one. What do we mean? Our approach remains the same as it was on Amazon's very first day: to make smart, fast decisions, stay nimble, innovate and invent, and focus on delighting customers. Do you want to watch a video on Devan culture at Amazon?
Yes.
Alexa, how do I prepare for my technical interview at Amazon?
For any software development engineer 1 and 2 applicants, we recommend reviewing our software development topics to help you prepare for technical evaluations and interviews. Do you want to watch a coding sample video?
Yes.
Alexa, does Amazon ensure work opportunities to people who come from diverse backgrounds?
Amazon believes that building a culture that is welcoming and inclusive is integral to people doing their best work and is essential to what we can achieve as a company.
Hi, I'm Raj Kaza. I lead the talent acquisition team for Asia Pacific. We are excited to launch an Alexa skill called Virtual Recruiter. This is an on-demand assistant that is available to all our candidates who are interested in pursuing opportunities with Amazon. Customer obsession is one of our key leadership principles. As a talent acquisition team, every candidate who interfaces with Amazon is our customer. We want to give the best possible experience to all our candidates who are our customers. Virtual Recruiter is a step in that direction. Candidates can now get information at their fingertips using this Alexa skill. We hope candidates benefit and enjoy using this Alexa skill. If you have any further questions about Amazon and its processes and culture, just ask Alexa.
This is great, right? This will definitely help interested candidates to access relevant information and resources to prepare for interviews using custom guides and training resources. To introduce you to some of these job profiles and to our culture, we want you to meet some of our fellow Amazonians. Hear from them about what it is like to work at Amazon.
Hello everyone, and a big welcome to all the attendees. I'm Deepthi Varma and I lead HR for Amazon corporate and consumer teams across APAC and MENA region. It is great to be part of this inaugural Career Day event in India and be able to hear so many wonderful stories from leaders and colleagues across Amazon. As a nation, India has a plethora of emerging talent who will most certainly shape the next few decades. The large group of individuals exhibit skill sets, capability, and aspirations like no other, and their potential is unmatched. These individuals will not only turn out to be great leaders, thinkers, and doers at their organization, but will also transform how we envisage the workplace for the future. Needless to say, diversity, equity, and inclusion will remain an integral part of the workplace. In fact, at Amazon, it is the diversity of thought that enable us to deliver continuous value to our customers and also align with our mission to be Earth's most customer-centric company. Before we begin our panel discussion, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the year that went by. Over the last 17-18 months, we have seen the world around us changing rapidly. It's been tough for everyone. However, these unprecedented times have made us resilient and enabled us to emerge stronger and shape a new normal personally and professionally. As an organization, Amazon too experienced many changes and evolved. We significantly strengthened our support for communities around us as well as employees and their families. I must say personally, it was a humbling experience for me to see employees come forward and help each other in the hour of need. And that truly signifies the spirit of Amazon. Let's start by seeing a short video which will give you a peek into our team spirit during this time.
The
the second wave of COVID-19 overwhelmed the nation. Social media feeds were full of appeals for medical assistance. It was in these unprecedented times that we remained steadfast in our commitment towards the nation and our employees. We rolled out various measures to safeguard the health and safety of our employees. We continue to strengthen and support our employees and their families, focusing on their physical and mental health. Amidst all this, it was heartwarming to witness Amazonians step forward as COVID warriors.
We are able to facilitate and ease off the burden of the employee requests coming in for hospital beds, medicines, ambulance support, oxygen availability, etc.
Amongst all the madness, what keeps me going is the satisfaction of helping my fellow Amazonians.
Wonderful opportunity to be a COVID warrior.
These warriors went beyond their call of duty to offer support to find hospital beds, oxygen support, plasma donors, ambulance support for their colleagues in India and employees based internationally with dependents in India. Vaccination is a key weapon in our battle against the virus, and we are determined to make it an accessible choice for all our employees.
Amazon is going the extra mile to support its employees.
The vaccination drive was very well organized.
The process there यहाँ पे जो follow हुआ वो बहुत ही smooth और बहुत ही streamlined था.
The pandemic has made us realize how critical it is to embrace our humanity. Let's rise to the occasion and make this the norm.
Thank you. As you can see, we leveraged the collective strength of Amazon family and stood firmly with each other in the time of severe crisis. The passion to make lives better for communities, partners, colleagues exemplifies Amazon culture centered on customer obsession and continuous endeavor to be Earth's best employer. Speaking about culture, many of you might be wondering, what is it like to work at Amazon? As an employee who has been in the organization for over 10 years now, I can surely say that no 2 days are same, and it always feels like day one. These new experiences, learnings, and challenges enable us to grow and thrive. To give you a better understanding, we've put together a panel of employees from different parts of life who will share with you their journey with Amazon and has enabled them to broaden their horizon and push themselves to be the best versions of themselves. To begin with, our first panelist is Aruna, Senior Manager Product and Tech at Amazon. In her role, Aruna is leading product, tech, and marketing for Amazon Mini TV, a free ad-supported video streaming services within Amazon Shopping app. She's been at Amazon for nearly 7 years, during which she's been part of the Prime business and was also the technical advisor to Amit Agarwal, our Global Senior VP and Country Head. Welcome to you, Aruna.
Thanks, Vipti.
Next is Venkat Krishna Rao, who's the head for distribution and business planning at Prime Video. Venkat has been part of Amazon family for around 5 years, during which he's grown across job families. He has led finance and analytics and also been part of the Prime Video team. Currently, he's leading the portfolio, looking at building new consumption models for Prime Video. Welcome, Venkat.
Thank you, Deepthi.
Last but not the least, we have Aditya. He's the Customer Support Operation Manager. Aditya joined us 3 years back and has played key role in setting up Virtual Contact Center site in Calcutta in 2019. Aditya is also a part of the team that has led Kolkata Glamazon chapter launch. Glamazon in Amazon is the network of LGBTQ plus employee. Welcome, Aditya.
Thank you, Deepthi.
Thank you all for joining us. And without much ado, let me begin with you, Aruna. Aruna, as you know, customer obsession is one of the key leadership principles. Can you please share with our audience the practical application of leadership principle and how it guides you in everyday decision making?
Right. Thanks for that question, Deepti. Uh, I think, yeah, I mean, customer obsession is definitely an upfront and integral part of anything that we do absolutely at Amazon. I think couple of mechanisms that help us, practice this on a very practical way on a day-to-day basis. A couple of things that definitely work is having a PR FAQ, which has a very clear write-up of how you will sort of announce the feature or the business that you are going ahead with to our customers. It also has a very clear set of customer FAQs that what is this feature about? How will it benefit me? What do I need to pay for it? Why should I, opt for it? And how does it differentiate from competitors? Are some of the questions that we definitely feel that customers ask, and the PR FAQ should address that up front and center before you get into the nitty-gritties of how will you go about this, and what is the proposed PNL or other aspects. So that's one of the key mechanisms for absolutely anything that we do with Amazon and whenever we are starting anything new. The second mechanism which helps in decision making, which I practice pretty much on a daily basis, is project prioritization. The thumb rule that we always use in terms of prioritizing projects, because resources are always limited and you have to deliver something in specific timelines. So the thumb rule that we always use is to prioritize customer trust busters first before we even prioritize projects that will lead to very high business impact. First you address those, and then the next set of projects is prioritized based on a combination of what is the customer impact it will drive and what are the timelines will it take in terms of implementation. And there will always be a juggle that you will have to do in terms of what is short term and what is long term. One thing which sort of I've learned at Amazon is never let good be the enemy of best. You always need to make incremental steps towards getting towards the best. So you need to have a very good way in terms of how you invent and simplify, prioritize the phases of your various projects or any features that you are trying to build, because everything incrementally that you build definitely has a positive customer impact. So I think these are some of the ways that I do apply customer obsession on a daily basis.
Thank you so much, Aruna, for sharing that. Coming to you, Venkat, which is your favorite leadership principle? And if you could also talk about how you've applied in your critical decision making.
So, Deepti, my favorite leadership principle is think big, which basically says that how do you kind of think without a constraint, without like really be boxed with the current realities. And when I kind of look back to when we started off Prime Video like 5 years back, I'm really happy that our leaders and we took that call, because that time like Prime Video was a very small service and we wanted to be the really most loved video service in the country. So the way we kind of started thinking about that time is like, if you remember TV shows that time, like you had those broadcasters TV shows just churning out day in and day out. So we said that, hey, like that is not something which we want to do. And then we said that, hey, what we want to basically do is like really raise the bar of production of TV shows to cinematic quality, bring in talent which is like really strong, almost like Bollywood cinema kind of talent. And not only that, but the other important thing is like, how do we kind of bring stories which are not really like talked about, like which the customers will really like really strong stories. So a combination of all that you see today in our service, which is your Mirzapur and Patal Lok and Four More Shots Please, Bandish Bandits, and all those great shows which we are able to deliver now. And I could basically think back of like 5 years back how it really helped us. The second thing which we kind of did was like, how do we really like bring in blockbuster movies on our service? And again, that time, like for a video streaming service to do that was not like in India, at least, like it was not something which people naturally assumed. But again, like we made sure that we really bring big movies cater to not only like the Hindi speaking population, but really like go and like cater to every segment of the Indian population. And that's how we thought about a plan to have like movies in 10 different languages today on our service, right? Tamil, Telugu, Bengali, Marathi, like Kannada, everything, right? And the last but not least, like when COVID hit and like people couldn't go to theaters, we said that, hey, how can we basically bring movie premieres directly on people's service? So those are like things which like our leaders always challenge us to think big and not be constrained by what was available there. And I'm really happy that like we're able to bring in movies like say Padmavat or Sher Shah, which we kind of launched recently, or regional movies like Surai Putru or Master. So yeah, like that's my favorite leadership principle.
Very interesting story, and I can make out that you all had to really think big in order to make sure that we are different and we are there is no boundaries. Coming to you, Aditya, can you talk about any one project that has helped you shape your experiences and subsequently defined your journey with Amazon India?
Sure, Deepthi, thanks for the question. So I'm part of the team that has launched the LGBTQIA plus community and the affinity group at VCS Kolkata. And since I am the part of the community itself, the launch that we did at Kolkata, it was focused on creating awareness about the community and also onboard members, and not just members but allies also, that help carry the message of diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm also the part of the DEI pillar at CS India. And what we do through this pillar is that we help drive focus on LGBTQIA community. And how do we do that? We help drive spreading awareness about the community through multiple talk shows or emailers or things like that. We also do an onboarding talent pool that is part of the community and creating avenues to retain the talent pool. Recently, we celebrated the Pride Month, during which I hosted a fireside chat with leaders from different organizations which are part of the community. The perspectives of these leaders help broaden our horizon and the knowledge about the challenges that people from the community face and how any organization can make a small but impactful change in how they operate. This also ties back to Amazon's vision of our, to be the Earth's most customer-centric company.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And of course, our new leadership principle of, being one of the best employer, comes true in this form that, we always need to be, inclusive and diverse organization. Coming back to you, Aruna, you've played a key role in bringing some first ever initiatives and products to life. I would love to talk to you about your experiences, challenges, learnings through some of these milestones across Prime, Mini TV, and others. What has been your success philosophy through these?
Thanks, Deepthi. I've been very fortunate, both as part of the Prime Delivery Experience team, which was the first team that I was a part of, and now with Mini TV, to launch projects and businesses which are, first in India and first at Amazon. It's been incredibly hard, but it's been very, very rewarding as well. I think couple of areas that helped me. I wouldn't call it constant success, but couple of areas that have helped me during this process is that you need to have a very crisp and clear articulation of what we are trying to achieve, and that's where the PRFAQ, like I mentioned before, helps a lot because it clearly brings out the nuances of why we are doing something which is different from what Amazon has done in most of the established locales. Why is the Indian landscape different in certain areas? So if I were to go back to my Prime Delivery Experience days, the transportation challenges in the country really impact the speed at which we are able to deliver the products to our customers. So how do I make it easy for customers to discover products that can be delivered to them fast? So those are areas that we had to bring together in the PRFAQ to work with several partner teams to first educate them and tell them in terms of what is the problem we are trying to solve and why is it different. uh, a lot of times you will come across a lot of pushback because you are sort of challenging the way in terms of how things have been done in different locales or in other established locales. But my guidance there is not to look at it negatively. You should accept feedback from subject matter experts in a very respectful manner, and incorporate that feedback, because once you incorporate those, it just strengthens your case further in terms of how you should be looking at that problem. And it also helps you build a great partnership with the team, because they also realize that you have accepted some feedback which is valid, and you're trying to incorporate that as part of the way you are trying to implement the solution. Second is, you will continue to discover a lot of unknowns during the implementation stage, which you haven't thought about or factored before. You will need to sort of patiently work through those, constantly invent and simplify, constantly, phase out how you are looking at the end deliverables as well, so that you can continue to make incremental progress. And the last thing is, like, continue to build on what you have already built, because there are always nuances and facets which will keep changing, in the marketplace, and you will need to continue to improvise. And so the base that you have already built, and if you continue to improvise on top of it, will make the customer impact much larger. So yeah, I think that sort of has worked for me in my career at Amazon so far.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Aruna. I remember the days when I joined Amazon. Initially, everybody used to give you feedback. This is the Amazon way of doing things. This is the Amazon way of doing things. And I would keep wondering whether, what should I do with all this feedback? And slowly I realized that there is the process through which you unlearn and relearn Amazon way of doing things. And you're very right. The more feedback that you do or get, you kind of tweak it and make your whatever PRFAQ you're trying to put together, make it more crisper and more sharper. So thank you so much for sharing that story. Venkat, coming back to you, your journey with Amazon has seen multiple hats. In fact, if you could talk about one initiative at Amazon that you believe has played one of the most defining role in enabling you expand your skill sets and transition across roles, I think a lot of people watching this today would be interested to know whether they can move across different roles. So, would love to hear your insights around that.
Sure. Thanks, Dipti. So just to give context, so I joined Prime Video 5 years back as head of finance. And then I took on the role of overseeing analytics, and then from there I moved into taking a marketing role, which is a living room device partnership marketing. I'm also involved in launching new initiatives, and also temporarily overseeing acquisition within Prime Video. And it's been like a fantastic journey. There's not one thing, but there are a lot of things which kind of makes it possible in Amazon for people like me to explore different avenues or like build different skill sets. I would really start from a process which we have in Amazon called as career growth plan discussions, which is which kind of forces you to, and there's a very good tool which kind of forces you to introspect on what you want to do, like 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, 5 years down the line. Where is your heart really at? I remember like doing that process 2 years into Prime Video, and like having that discussion with my manager and my business partner, saying that, hey, like I really want to get into a business role. And then like they've been like super supportive about that, and that is something which I really love about Amazon. And then my manager actually was like super invested in this. Then he really helped me think about like how I should basically change into a role, because I had no background on marketing or product or anything. So he really charted a way out for me on how I will basically like move from finance into a business role. And then like there are a lot of other things like for example, I remember in my first few meetings, I used to sit down and I had no clue like how to contribute into product feature discussion, or like a user journey discussion, or like on-device marketing, like what are the things which one needs to like look forward, or marketing innovation or communication strategy. But a good part is that like in Amazon, like the peers are really helpful, and I remember that time like putting one-on-ones on people's calendars and like really like asking some very fundamental and basic questions. I think the trick there is not to feel shy about it. Like while I could see that I could say that like I was fair bit of knowledge on the finance side, but on this side, like I had no knowledge. So really sitting down and like asking those questions. We have wiki within Amazon, like that puts out a lot of good information out there which one can go through. And like Aruna said, like we have peer FAQ. So I used to basically sit down. That used to like really give me hey, like what we are doing and what's the customer proposition, etc. And the last thing which I want to call out here, Dipti, is the mentorship guidance you get. Like I have like really good mentors who have been like mentoring me in this journey so far, and it has been like fantastic. So like I said, there are a lot of enabling factors within Amazon which really makes it possible for you to do something like this.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Really nice to hear that. So let me change little gears and talk about our diverse talent. Coming to you, Aditya, how do you think initiatives, including the Glamazon, set precedents for new talents from different communities to bring their authentic selves to the large organization?
Sure. Thanks for the question, Deepthi. So let me first, tell what Glamazon is all about. So Glamazon is an Amazon affinity group or an employee network for anyone interested in the LGBTQIA plus issues, events, meetings, and information. Our motto is all are welcome. So we invite all Amazonians to join us in a community focused on love and gender identities outside the heterosexual default. So what do we do? Uh, Glamazon and other affinity groups help attract and retain talents in two ways. The first way is build awareness about the affinity group so that the leaders create safe workplaces for our employees. And secondly, create leaders that not only promote the culture of diversity, equity, and inclusion, but also develop future leaders in the organization who continue to promote diversity. That's one. The other is Glamazon also advocates for internal and external policies that focuses on the LGBTQIA plus employees' needs. Now, some of them some of the steps that we have taken through this are insurance benefits for the same gender partner. So at Amazon, we now insure same gender partners. We also have something very unique, which is a gender reassignment surgery support. So in case recognize yourself as a different gender than what you were born into, Amazon supports the gender reassignment surgery. We also have something as gender neutral policies. Our policies are now being reworded wherein the gender specific he, she is getting replaced by they, it, and things like that. Last but not the least, in our corporate offices, we also have something called as gender neutral washrooms. So that's one of few things that Glamazon as a whole is doing for the organization.
Thank you so much, and really nice of you to share all those initiatives. For the HR, it is music that people are aware about these policies and they are using it. And I would really encourage more and more diverse people to, come and join us and, make our organization truly diverse. Moving on, I think as we come to the end of this sessions, one last question to each one of you. I'd like to start by asking Venkat, what would be your typical day at Amazon look like? If you could just describe that, because a lot of people listening to the session today would be very keen to understand as to how is Amazon, as an organization, what does a typical day look like? And there are a lot of myths that can be broken by just hearing you today.
Sure, Dipti. Like we said, no 2 days are alike in Amazon. Like there's just the diversity and the variety of the work which you get to do in Amazon is just so amazing. Like if I'm to take up maybe like tomorrow what I have in my calendar which I want to do, I think we are going to basically start with reading up customer anecdotes on the living room side. Basically, like people who watch Prime Video on their smart TVs, like what do they have to give feedback on? Like, and it can range anything from like they're not able to switch on Prime Video, or the content is good, or some recommendation on some feature they want to do. Right, that's the typical thing which we have seen. From there on, like I think the second meeting which we have is really brainstorming on a long-term plan for one of our businesses. Really thinking about 3 years down the line how we want to do, because we have a long range planning which happens in Amazon. Then we have a meeting on marketing plan launch for an upcoming movie Cinderella, which is going to star Camila Cabello. That's something which I'm really look forward to reviewing how we are going to launch that. That's a worldwide Amazon original movie which we have. And finally, I also have one-on-ones with two of my teammates. So we use that time to basically talk about the work and how I can help them unblock, as well as any other things which we want to discuss to make progress.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Venkat, for sharing that. Aditya, I might come to you next. You've played a key role in setting up Kolkata VCS site and build the team with new hirings. Tell us what makes the new candidate stand out during an interview process at Amazon.
Sure. Thanks, Deepthi. I think, because when we hire anyone at Amazon, we not only look at the current level that they're being interviewed for, but the capability to move to the next level as well. And considering that in mind, I think the following two attributes is what I look for in a candidate. The first is the ability to look for multiple paths to reach a goal. Uh, See, while the end result is very, very important, having multiple options to execute the solution is equally important for me. And as they say in Amazon, it is okay to fail and learn. It's a key trait in any leader or any future leader. That's one. The second ability that we look at is to know what a two-way door decision is and what is not. Two-way door decisions are very important as they're not permanent, and therefore they can be reversed in case the expected solution is not being met. Speed of decision matters a lot at Amazon, and therefore it's very, very important for a leader to be very nimble and swift in taking decisions that really result and helps us in delivering results.
Awesome. Great. Aruna, last but not the least, people who are listening to us today would like to know how to be an effective professional and team player in a virtual environment. So, any tips you would like to share?
Yeah, actually, it's a bit difficult. I won't say I have any foolproof solutions because the borders of work and home have sort of blurred out completely, and there is no end time, and it's difficult. I mean, there's a lot of self discipline required, which I am trying myself to implement. I think just mandating those break hours sort of help, like not doing any meetings during lunch hour, just taking that 1 hour break for yourself and in the evening, and making that known to your teams, or even applying it for your team sort of helps, just give you that that thing to just escape away from what you're doing. And yeah, I mean, try to find some interests or hobbies that you can easily exercise as you continue through home, and what really gives you that joy. So try to get some time out of it, at least during the weekends. I think these two sort of help you at least on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you so much, Aruna. But before you all leave, there is a set of rapid fire questions for all three of you. And as the name may suggest, the questions have to be answered immediately. So don't think too much about it and answer maybe just in a word of couple of words. The first question would be, describe your journey with Amazon in one word.
Okay, well, it's a phrase. It's work hard, have fun, make history.
Wow, yeah, that's the tagline too. Thanks so much. Aruna.
I would call it a roller coaster, honestly.
Okay, wonderful. Venkat?
I would call it fulfilling and
Awesome.
satisfying.
Wonderful. In one line, if you had to tell us what do you love about working at Amazon, one word, one line.
Okay. Okay. At Amazon, we start with the customer and work backwards. So while we pay attention to competitors, we obsess over customers.
Wonderful. Aruna?
Yeah, just going by my experience, I think this organization has given me an opportunity to try out so many different things, which I have no absolutely background or experience of, and that's one of the areas that I really like about this company.
Wonderful. Venkat?
Learning new things every day, Dipti, like that's something which I love about Amazon.
Very nice. One thing that you hear newcomers at Amazon say about Amazon.
Uh, okay, from my personal experience also, it's still day one. Amazon is all about unlearn and learn.
Wonderful. Aruna?
Yeah, a lot of newcomers complain to me there are too many acronyms that we use, and just I know there is no set page or document which really lists it down. So we do make it hard, and we do want them to figure it out by themselves. So yeah, too many acronyms.
Wonderful. What about you?
I had that acronym bit, but what I would like to call out is like newcomers have always told me that our onboarding training is really good. Like they really liked it. So that's been a consistent call out to me.
Wonderful. So we all have heard about Avengers and Justice League. Every employee at Amazon is a superhero in their own. So if you had to assign a similar name to your team, what would it be? Let's start with Venkat this time, and then Aruna, and then Aditya.
I would call them challengers.
Challenges. Okay. What about you, Aruna?
I actually not a Justice League type name, but I would call my team like Team Mosaic probably. I think we are all so different, differently colored, but when it comes together, it's a beautiful piece of tile or design. Every color brings out that uniqueness. So I think I would like to call it Team Mosaic.
Wonderful. What about you,
So
Aditya?
I'll call my team Hawkeye, always on target.
Wonderful. Very good. And this is the last, really final question. If you had to describe a typical day at Amazon through a song, what would it be? And you can choose English or Hindi, anything.
Okay. Uh,
Whoever wants to start.
sure. I think I'll say the original soundtrack of Lakshya, पाएगा जो लक्ष्य है तेरा. Can't sing it.
I like the song Roar by Katy Perry. I think it really aptly describes, when you're down or when you're up and how you sort of react to those phases, and very inspirational song as well.
Wonderful. And
I had the
Venkat?
same. I would think of the same song as Aditya said, like the title song of Lakshya. Like it's just so apt.
Wonderful. So thank you all. I think it was so interesting to hear such diverse views. So thank you, Aruna, Venkat, Aditya, for taking out time, sharing your experiences. In fact, I'm sure the audience would have really taken away quite a lot of pearls of wisdom from just listening to all of you. And I must say, I myself have got so many interesting perspectives and so many interesting stories today. As they say, it's still day one. And stay tuned and have a good day. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for letting us take a sneak peek into your role, your interesting personal experiences at Amazon. That was quite enjoyable. Let us now get a close look at the operations side of the world at Amazon. Introducing you to Satish Kumar. Satish has a very interesting job profile at Amazon. Let's hear it directly from him.
என்னோட நேம் சதீஷ், என்னோட நேட்டிவ் தமிழ்நாடு. எனக்கு 2 பசங்க இருக்காங்க. என்னோட ஒய்ஃபு ஹவுஸ் ஒய்ஃபாக இருக்காங்க. ப்ரீவியஸாக ஒர்க் பண்ணிகிட்டு இருந்த கம்பெனி கோவிட் சுச்சுவேஷனால் லாக்டவுன் ஆகிடுச்சு. ஸோ அப்போது என்னோடய ஃபேமிலியை ரன் பண்ணுறதுக்கு எனக்கு ரொம்ப ப்ராப்ளமாக இருந்தது. ஸ்கூல் படிக்க முடியாத ஒரு சூழ்நிலை ஆயிடுச்சு. ஸோ அப்போ அந்த டைமில் அமேசான் எனக்கு ஒரு ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டி கிடச்சிது. இன்டர்பிரிட்டர் கரியரில் ஜாயின் பண்ணேன். நான் அது லாஸ்ட் 1 இயராக பண்ணிகிட்டு இருந்தேன். லர்னிங் அண்ட் டெவலப்மெண்ட்டுக்கு ஒரு ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டி இருந்தது. ஸோ இன்டர்வியூ அட்டென்ட் பண்ணி எனக்கு செலக்ட் ஆனதுனால இப்போது நான் எல்லா அசோசியேட்டுக்குமே லர்னிங் அண்ட் டெவலப்மெண்ட்டு கொடுத்துட்ருக்கேன். இப்போது இங்கே நிறைய பெனிஃபிட்ஸ் அமேசான் எங்களுக்கு கொடுக்குறாங்க. அப்போது அந்த டைமில் வந்து அமேசான் ஒரு ஈவெண்ட் அரேஞ்ச் பண்ணி எங்களுக்கு வேக்சினேஷன் வந்து என்னோடய ஒய்ஃப்க்கும் கொடுத்தாங்க. இங்கே அமேசானில் வேலை செய்கிறதுனால எங்களுக்கு ரொம்ப சேஃப் அண்ட் செக்யூராக இருக்குது. நெக்ஸ்ட் 5 இயர்ஸ்க்குள்ளார நான் எல்என்டி மேனேஜராக ஆகணுன்னு எனக்கு ஒரு ட்ரீம் இருக்குது. அதை நான் சக்ஸஸ்ஃபுல்லாக எடுத்துகிட்டு போவேன். எனக்கு கான்ஃபிடென்ஸ் இருக்குது சார்.
It's so good and humbling to see that people find their sense of purpose and happiness at Amazon even during the trying times. And to know more about Amazon India operations, we sit down for a chat between Akhil Saxena, Vice President, Customer Fulfillment Operations, APAC, MENA, and LATAM, and Swati Rastogi, Director of HR, Amazon India Operations, to know of the industry-leading practices to scale presence and how Amazon is creating multiple job opportunities across India, including smaller cities.
Hi, my name is Swati, and I'm really pleased here today to be here to introduce the first career day for Amazon India. I'm happy to introduce Akhil, who's here with us today. Akhil is the Vice President for APAC, MENA, and Japan, and we are really happy to have you here today, Akhil, to talk to us about various aspects of Amazon's building careers in Amazon. So looking forward to talking to you.
Thank you, Swati. It's a pleasure being here, and I feel very excited about it. At the same time, I'm nervous that I'm talking about people to a people person.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing because I think you're one of the biggest advocates of people and processes that I've seen. So I'm looking forward to learning a lot from you today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Akhil, I want to start with the growth that we've had in Amazon India. It's been an exponential growth, and you have had a ringside seat on it. You've actually watched it grow. We've done a lot for customers, for sellers, for the community. Talk to us about the growth opportunities for people, the job employment opportunities that Amazon has created during this time.
Yeah, it's a great question. If I was to think about it, we have been in India for about 8 years now. We celebrated our 8th anniversary a couple of months ago, and we have seen phenomenal growth in the business. And we are a very customer-obsessed company, so we work backwards from the needs of a customer and build solutions, product, processes, and so on. Along with this growth, to build all of this, we need people. So our philosophy has been to say that anybody who wants to come and wants to work in a challenging environment, wants to work in an environment where they can stretch themselves, they can challenge themselves, we have a lot of roles for them. If you look at it over the last couple of years, we have hired hundreds of thousands of people in our businesses. And when I say businesses, I'm not just talking about operations, which is my business, but also the seller businesses, or whether I would look at payments, advertising businesses. There are a lot of places where we have hired people, including customer service and so on. Therefore, the opportunity is there. And if you were to look at the kind of people or the kind of roles that are available to people, they would start at entry level and they go all the way up to the leadership level. If I speak very specifically about operations, as we build our network, we have invested in building the infrastructure for the network. And for managing the infrastructure, for managing the operations, we have hired people at entry levels from delivery associates or associates who basically pick and pack your items in the fulfillment centers to senior leadership levels. So whether it is top leadership, whether it's middle management, whether it is supervisors, whether it's team leads, associates, there are enough and more jobs that we have created over the last couple of years. And every month, if you go to our job website, you will see there are so many jobs even open today as we look at it. So the whole mental model of growth is not just for the business, but it's also about how do we provide a plethora of jobs across business lines, across levels for people in India. We have hired people who are delivery drivers, as I said. We have hired doctors. We have hired chefs. We have hired photographers for our photo studios. So the kind of roles that we have hired for is also very wide.
Awesome. This is just awesome to hear, right? I just wonder, when we hire across such a large set of people, there has been a journey on onboarding to make people successful in the culture that we bring to the table. What are your thoughts on that? How do we, do onboarding? What have you liked about it?
Yeah, I think the first piece is about where we hire from. And I think we hire from many cohorts and many walks of lives. I already gave you some examples of the kind of people that we have hired and we continue to hire. At the same time, we are also focused on hiring women. We are focused on hiring military veterans, members of the LGBTQ plus community, and also any unrepresented cohort that might be there in the country. So we do not differentiate. And as Amazon, we are an equal opportunities employer. We provide people the opportunity to come in and work in an environment which is very inclusive. So our job is to see that people who come in and work for Amazon from wherever they come. They might come from a very small town, they might come from a metro cities, they might come from any background. But we focus on ensuring that they have a very inclusive work environment and we build that diversity. Our customers are very diverse. Therefore, the kind of talent that we bring in is from a very diverse cohort. Once we have identified talent, or once we have identified people who we want, as I said, our customers are also, like, we invent backwards for our customers. So it's a high bar. Our customers are constantly asking for more. Our bar on people is also constantly being raised, right? When we raise the bar, we select people, we work with them and see to it that they are successful in Amazon. So when you look at onboarding, which is the first step after the interview process, and the interview process is a high bar process. But once people come on board, as part of the onboarding, we ensure that they know exactly what they have to do. They are equipped with the resources that they are required to be successful. And we provide them the kind of culture, time, and space to learn before they go into an actual job. So during pandemic, we have seen a lot of things changed for the country, right? And maybe for the whole world, actually. So during pandemic times, the way we onboarded people, we brought in a lot of technology. We had virtual onboarding sessions. We had a lot of virtual meetings, meeting people, meeting peers, one-on-ones. We used Alexa to ensure that the technology was available for people to ask questions about their jobs or about the benefits or about how to do things, how to do travel, etc., etc. So leveraging technology, leveraging processes that we already have and modifying them to accommodate the needs that COVID threw on us, I think was something that we looked at last year. If I was to also look at it, onboarding doesn't mean that it ends after the first X number of days, maybe 30 days or 60 days. It's also about ensuring that the person has an opportunity to succeed really well at Amazon. And therefore, we have a lot of opportunities for them to have mentors, have one-on-one sessions with their peers, a buddy system. Even an associate who goes to deliver a shipment for our customers has a buddy for the first 3 days so that he or she can understand how to deliver it successfully.
You know, you told me when I joined the organization, I remember, about your own onboarding. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I joined Amazon about 8 years ago, and my first few months, I actually spent in the US in a couple of stints of a few weeks each. And I unlearned a lot to learn a lot. The culture of Amazon is very different from companies, and I came in from a manufacturing and supply chain background. So I think I learned about how this company is so associate-centric, how it's so focused on people, and that hands-on learning helped me in good stead. So I did unloading of trucks for a couple of days to understand what's the experience that you go through when you are working as an associate. I worked as a shift manager, I ran as an area manager, I sat through peak calls to see how do you manage peak as a GM or as a vice president. And I thought the learning that was available to me, the resources that were available to me, and the kind of hand-holding that was provided was phenomenal. I mean, I learned so much in so little time. And this company is very open about helping each other. You will find people coming and saying, here's the information that you need, and if you need anything more, come and talk to me. And I thought I had not seen that kind of support systems anywhere else. So I feel very privileged to have learned it here at Amazon. And to learn something new, you might have to unlearn a few of your past. So I think it was a great experience.
And you've ensured that that's continued for all of us who've come after you. So thank you.
I think that's something that's important, and it's also a leadership principle to be about learn and be curious. And I think learning is always a constant journey. So it's always exciting.
Thank you. You spoke about the high bar and how the bar keeps improving at Amazon on people. What's your experience on what we do on development, and how have you seen that evolve?
Yeah, I take my own personal example that when I came into Amazon, I was responsible for running the network, the operations network, and that was comprising of only one warehouse in Bhiwandi. And over the years, I think the company has invested in me, in helping me grow myself as a leader. And today I manage more than one geography. And I think that's the kind of growth that is available to everybody. And I'm sharing my personal example because everybody should be aware that the opportunities in Amazon are phenomenal, right? Think of Amazon as a complex of multiple swimming pools. One of the swimming pool is called operations, and within operations there are swim lanes. So you could have a fulfillment center experience, a sort center experience, a last mile experience, a supply chain experience, and these are all swim lanes within operations. But if you choose to go from one swimming pool to another, you could just walk across to the other in the same complex. You don't have to go far. So Amazon allows people to come in, learn, move around, rotate amongst different business lines. And that rotation allows them to explore their own personal interest along with what the business requires. So it's a good marriage between personal aspirations and what the business needs. And that rotation is not just limited to anything in India, it's a global rotation that's available. So there are short-term assignments where somebody could say, I want to go and work in an international assignment for a couple of months, and can the company manage that or help that? And we have short-term assignments there. And there are people who have career aspirations to say, okay, I need an international exposure. Can I go out of India, or can I go to Singapore, or can I go to Middle East, or can I go to US? And those opportunities are available. At the same time, it's not just about rotation. It's also about the mentorship that one receives. I have sat through many meetings, and every time I sit in the meeting, there's so much to learn from each other, because the quality of talent here is so phenomenal that your learning curve is already very accelerated. When you are sitting with people who have a very high knowledge level and intellect level and have the ability to ask the right questions, your learning starts getting accelerated. And I think that's the beauty of staying in Amazon, working in Amazon. The other pieces are a lot of products that are available for learning, whether it is structured training, whether it is being part of programs and projects, cross business projects. And the fact that you can go from operations to business to some other work allows you to develop yourself in multiple dimensions.
That's awesome. And I'm just thinking, when we're talking of development, this is one organization which is constantly encouraging people to figure out what they want to do next, even while they're doing their current job, which is quite unusual from most other organizations that many of us grew in.
Very unique.
So how do you feel that that really plays well for the organization in just telling people, apply for whatever you want to apply?
I think there is so much happening in this company, right? And so many business lines, whether it is AWS or any business that you look at, operations, consumer, devices, digital, seller services, anything that you look at, there's so much happening. There's so much innovation that's happening because we are inventing on behalf of our customers. So we are working backwards from customer needs, what do they need? And that innovation allows people to get attracted to say, oh, maybe I want to go and work in something which is exciting happening in machine learning or artificial intelligence or something like that. The company feels that, look, if you have an aspiration and you believe that you want to go and try something, we shouldn't hold you back. Therefore, it's quite okay for a person to come in and work and say, I want to do something different. And I think the company encourages people to say, if you really want it, and if it's not disruptive to the current business, please go ahead and look at those roles. I was visiting some of my operations last week, and I went to a delivery station, and I must share this episode with you. And I met a team leader who introduced himself, and then the manager of the team leader basically told me that this person used to be a delivery associate a couple of years ago. And from there, he became a supervisor and he became a team leader, and he now manages the station over the weekends when the manager is not there. For me, that's inspiration to say how people can grow vertically. And then the other day, I was talking to somebody in the sort center, and he came in from a military background. He was flying helicopters for the Indian Air Force. He came in from the Indian Air Force, came in flying helicopters, comes in and runs a sort center for us. So there are many examples of how people with different backgrounds can come in, succeed, and move from one role to another without worrying about saying, oh, I'm slotted only for this business line.
Awesome. And I must tell you on this note that there's an interesting pilot that's going on where we are trying to figure out how could we offer opportunities to people to learn coding if they don't have background in it, and they've joined us maybe as customer service associates, as associates in our building. So we're really looking forward to see what comes out of that.
Yeah, I think we have so much opportunity here. And I think it's a canvas that you can choose to paint with the colors you want. The canvas is there. I think it's up to our own aspirations, our own dreams to say what we want to do. And I think the company helps us to live our dreams. So that's the best part about it.
On that note, I'm just wondering, right? It's one thing to keep developing people to meet our current need, but the kind of growth we have and the kind of size and scale that we operate in, how do we make sure that we're constantly thinking of getting our people and our organization future ready?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think the fundamental piece is around our leadership principles, right? If you look at our leadership principles, we now have 16. Um, People imbibing and understanding and living those leadership principles is, I think, the foundational part about being future ready. Jeff Bezos also talked about that the fact that our customers are going to be always divinely discontent. And what was a wow factor yesterday will become ordinary today. Now, if you have to keep pace with that kind of change, if you really want the organization to continue to be ahead, then you really need to look into the future. And looking into the future is not about saying, oh, I'll do something very nice and colorful. It's about saying, what's the projected need? What is it that we have to look around the corner? What is it that the customers are going to ask for? What is it that is happening in the environment around us? And within Amazon, I think with the things that we use with technology, especially around technology, there's so much opportunity for people to start saying, oh, that's interesting for me. So I know people who have gone from operations into consumer business, and I know people who have gone from operations to run devices operations. And therefore, there's a lot of opportunity for people to look into the things that might be not visible here today, but might be big items tomorrow. The future readiness also comes in from building that muscle around innovation and invention. We are a company of owners and innovators. So all of us in this organization are owners. And as owners, you would always want to delight your customers. And part of the delight comes in from innovating on their behalf. And when you innovate, you learn. When you learn, you grow. And I think that's the best part about it.
You know, finally, it's beginning to make sense to me. I remember my first day on the job. And I walk into the office and there's a member of my team who's supposedly doing learning and development, and I come from human resources. And the individual comes and tells me, I'm here for the next 5 days, but I'm moving into Amazon Studio business to run one of their business verticals. And I kind of stopped in my tracks saying, what exactly happened here? So it's really interesting to see what this organization really, takes us to and how we grow. One of the things I've always respected about you, Akhil, is the significant allyship that you've had on diversity, equity, and inclusion. You've been a strong advocate and ally, and you've kind of literally held it personally to make sure that this organization stands for DEI. Talk to us about that. Why?
The why is very simple in my mind. It's the right thing to do. There's nothing beyond that. It's the right thing to do. So when I joined Amazon in operations many years ago, we had just a few women in our operations team. And today we have hundreds and thousands of them, not just in operations, but across the whole business. And warehousing, logistics, trucking, transportation, delivery are all traditionally seen as male-dominated business lines. And for me, there's no differentiation between what a woman can do and what a man can do. And I think that's a fundamental tenet for us. And I think the company allows that tenet to be seeped through everybody. Everybody knows that. We are an equal opportunity employer. So we started on this journey, and I think it's a bit of a culture change. It's a bit of training and educating people to say this is the right thing to do. But I've been very fortunate to have leaders on my team, and you included, who are allies to me. So when you say ally, I would say there are so many more who are force multipliers for us in this journey. Today, we have thousands of women in our operations, not just within our building. There are women who go out and deliver. We have 4 delivery stations which are managed only by women. We have, and our service partners, we have transgenders who manage delivery stations all by themselves. We have military veterans. I'll give you an example. We have this example of Colonel Tarun Vora. He retired from the military, from the army after 20 years. And within the army, he worked in Kashmir in the valley in counterterrorism operations. He went to Lebanon on a UN mission. He was an instructor at IMA. And he also commanded a very elite rocket unit in the Western Front. And today he runs a SOT center for us in NCR. It's one of the largest SOT centers. And by working with military veterans, we see that the discipline, the passion, the commitment to our customers and their commitment to the nation is not even questioned, right? It's beyond question. And I think that's the leverage that we have. We work very closely with the government, AWPO and DGR, to hire military veterans into our operations. Similarly, when I talk about opportunities, we are not talking about only opportunities within our own ecosystem, but also our partners. We have a program called I Have Space. We have a program called Delivery Service Partners. We have got a program which is EDSP. So we have many programs where partners come in. And these programs, by the way, are all job and opportunity creation opportunities for them. These are entrepreneurs, small and medium entrepreneurs who come in and they want to do something, live their dreams, and we help them. So I'll give you an example of this lady. Her name is Manisha Gupta. She's from Gorakhpur. And she has been a partner on the IHS program for the last 4 years. She has 2 children. 4 years ago, her husband met with an accident and his earning capacity was impacted. So Manisha partnered with the IHS program, which is basically saying they can, in their spare time, she could come in and deliver packages for Amazon. What started off as a small side business and an additional income now becomes a much larger focus for her. And now with this source of income, she has been able to see that there is financial independence for her, financial stability for her, and good schooling for her 2 children. Now, for me, that's inspiring to say, here's a woman who had to go and do something different, but we were able to encourage her to go and deliver for Amazon, something that you would traditionally not see. And I'm talking about Gorakhpur, which is a city in the interior India. So I would say there are many examples like this. And for us, the ability to change their lives in a positive manner, there's nothing more fulfilling than that. I mean, there's nothing more inspiring. That's yours to keep. Very recently, during Pride Month in June, I had an opportunity to talk to a transgender in our fulfillment center. This was based on a concept of the human book, where you could talk to somebody and they would share their own life experiences. And you would not pass judgment, but you would really try and understand to say, what was their life? And she spoke about how difficult her life was before she came to work for Amazon. She talked about the challenges in her family, in the community, how she had to do different kinds of roles, and they were not fully satisfying for her. And when she got this opportunity to come and work for Amazon, she felt so secure. She felt that, look, this was a place where she really wanted to go and grow. And it was very humbling for me as an experience to hear her story and understand how much of an impact we can make. And I think we are still scratching the surface. So I think all of these examples that I quoted are examples which inspire me to say, if this is what we could do, what could we do with so many more people just doing the same thing? So that's the reason of why.
I love your humility. I know you were probably leading the space in Amazon on the speech and hearing impaired program that you run, and on maybe paving the way of actually having people with learning disabilities join our network for the first time. So I really appreciate that passion, and that makes me come to work every day, honestly. So thank you for that.
No, thank you. I mean, a lot of people have worked to see how we can have folks with hearing and speech disabilities to come in and work with us. They're differently abled. They're differently abled. They have their ability to do the normal work, but they're just differently abled. And I think when we started off, we learned, now we have sign languages that our area managers are learning. We have signables that we are utilizing. So we have hearing and speech impaired people working for us. We also have people with other disabilities. And I would say PWDs are people who bring in very special skills. They have their own abilities. And I think we should just continue to encourage them.
Thank you. Why should people join Amazon?
I'll answer for myself. It's an amazing roller coaster. If you like challenges, if you like excitement, if you want to do what you have never done before, this is the place to come. This is the place to come. The company, the culture allows you to invent, innovate, experiment, try, fail. I must have failed so many times, but I'm still here. And we have a safety net to say, if you fail somewhere, learn and then go and pick yourself up and go and do the next experiment. This is also a place where you build a legacy. 8 years ago, Amazon in India was not even known to most of the people. Most of the country didn't know about Amazon. But today it's a household name. It's a generic name. And it's not as if that everything that had to be done is done. There's so much more to do. But the opportunity to create a legacy, the opportunity to make an impact is there with every single person across any level, that I would say. And I think that's the most inspiring part of it. The ability to wake up every day morning and say, I have 5 big problems to solve, and then come to work energized about that. What else? How more exciting can life be?
Awesome. Thank you so much. Now comes my favorite part, because I get to ask you rapid fire questions.
Oh, let's go with that.
A movie that best describes Amazon's working day.
Mission Impossible, and then I would say Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara.
3 words that describe Amazon's workforce.
Passionate, customer obsessed, very talented.
A song that describes the journey of Amazon's package from our center to the customer.
Shuru tumse, khatam tum tak, safarnama.
Awesome.
And the reason why I said this is because for me, this embodies the joy of a seller, the aspirations of a seller, and the journey of the package from a seller to the customer doorstep, and the delight that the customer has. I think this entire journey is summed up in the song.
This is a very different take for me. So, it starts with joy and ends with joy. That's
Absolutely.
Just phenomenal.
Absolutely.
If you were authoring a book on Amazon's network, what would that be? What would the title be?
Brick by brick, inch by inch.
Wow, that's super awesome. Akhil, it was such a pleasure having you here today. Thank you so much. And I hope there are many more people today who are listening to you who would love to join Amazon and get this opportunity to work with you. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Swati. It was a pleasure being here and engaging with you. Thank you so much.
That was an amazing session. Thank you, Akhil and Swati, for such an inspiring one. It is particularly interesting to hear of the inclusive hiring strategy. I especially made a note of the fact that Amazon's delivery service partners operate 4 all-women delivery stations across India, fully run by women, and 1 silent delivery station in Mumbai with opportunities for speech and hearing impaired associates. Inspiring. Moving on from here, do you know India is the 2nd largest technology hub for Amazon? Indian talent is powering innovations for India as well as globally. Up next, we have a powerful panel discussion with some of our engineering minds to know how Amazonians are working on disruptive technological innovations from India that impact customers and businesses in India and globally.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anil Warrior, and I lead the talent acquisition team for AWS in India. I would like to welcome you all to this session where we talk about the pivotal role of technology across Amazon. Amazon's journey for the close to 2 decades in India have been made possible by the huge contributions from employees we have hired, who are led by the desire to deconstruct, create, and innovate on behalf of our customers. From the very beginning, Amazon has been an early proponent of technologies such as AI, ML, Alexa, cloud, and many more. Today, at the first Career Day event in India, we have the pleasure of bringing some fellow Amazonians to discuss a few areas they are working on these technologies that is impacting businesses and consumers alike. I now have 3 panelists with me. I will go around and introduce them. First is Nikhil Rasivasya. He's a senior manager with the Applied Sciences team in Amazon India. Nikhil has published several papers and also has received the Best Paper Award in ACM Multimedia 2010. At Amazon, Nikhil's team is responsible for leveraging ML to tackle problems in the areas of catalog quality, shopping experience, and product design insights. My second panelist is Deepa Balakrishnan. She's a senior manager with the Alexa Experience team. Deepa leads the India Customer Engagement Charter for Amazon Alexa, the voice service that powers Amazon's Echo and Fire TV products. She and her team work to drive awareness of what Alexa can do to customers, create new engaging experiences, and provide a defect free, delightful voice experience that customers enjoy. My third panelist is Kanishka Agarwal. He's part of the public sector organization in AWS India, and he heads India and South Asia for the service lines. At Amazon, Kanishka works very closely with public sector, central and state government, education, health sectors, not so profit organizations, travel, and a bunch of PSUs to drive AI at scale for citizen impact. Thank you, Nikhil, Deepa, and Kanishka, joining us for this discussion. With digital taking a center stage in our lives in this new normal, access to technology has become an essential today. Deep customization enabled by cutting edge technologies have become critical in order to design an enhanced and value added customer experience. This brings to me my first question to you, Nikhil. As a as the ability to deliver more and more sophisticated digital experiences has evolved over a period of time, the expectation and the demand from the customers have also gone the same way up, isn't it? From brands they engage with across retail, media and entertainment, travel, hospitality, and many more. Can you tell us how ML has come to play such a central role at Amazon?
You're right, Anil. Machine learning today has become a household phrase, and at Amazon, we are indeed using machine learning to help deliver highly personalized experiences. This is resulting in improvements in both customer engagement and satisfaction. For instance, consider the diversity of online shoppers in India. There are more than 600 million people online in the country with varying degrees of expertise to shop online. They use diverse range of mobile devices, experience fluctuating speeds due to congested towers or tower switching, etc., etc. So we have deployed models to predict customers who are on a slow or a spotty network based on criteria like device characteristics, cell tower information, and the latency of the last request, and so on. So for such customers, we provide an adaptive experience and serve streamlined pages with a lower number of widgets that are easier to navigate. Search is another area. It's a single biggest facilitator of product discovery for a customer at Amazon. Here, key challenges ML is helping with include understanding the query semantics, segmenting queries, identifying phrases and brand mentions in the query, correcting spell errors, supporting colloquial usages like juta, classifying the query into categories, and so on. Our search ranking algorithms display relevant products while concurrently optimizing multiple other objectives. For example, delivery speed, the quality of the product, the price competitiveness, etc. Besides, machine learning solves common problems like popularity bias, which is when a customer is merely shown the most popular product versus what is relevant for them, and a cold start problem, which is when the system has no user item or content history. So it's not able to make the right judgment call, which dilutes the customer experience and the ability to discover new items or new content in the catalog. Similarly, in the Amazon app, to make selection accessible in vernacular languages like Hindi, Telugu, Tamil, Kannada, and Malayalam, we have built statistical and neural machine translation models to automatically translate large volumes of product content. As a result, today, when a customer visits Amazon.in, each customer sees their own Amazon. Not only text, but to adapt Alexa, which is what a lot of customers today engage with and enjoy using, we wanted Alexa to operate in Hindi. So to interact in Hindi, we have created extensive data in the form of raw speech from multiple speakers. Another factor which has enabled machine learning to reach masses is the distributed and scalable architecture to train and deploy ML models.
Thanks, Nikhil. Deepa, coming to you, how is Alexa actually helping customers interact more intuitively using the voice?
So I think the most natural interface for us to use and as a child is our voice, right? So it's making the most complex things really, really simple when you can just ask for help. And Alexa is sort of the future in fundamentally changing and improving the way. And voice just removes a lot of the barriers that are there to technology. As Nikhil was talking about just a little bit ago, We are seeing that shift within the Amazon shopping app today. We have customers on the app who use their voice to make purchase experience easier. People are searching and learning more about products. They are navigating to the pages that they want to, finding deals, making bill payments, all much, much faster using voice. And in fact, last Diwali, we had shared that over 1 million customer requests had come to Alexa for support during the prime early access. And we've only been growing since there. Uh, the change that we are seeing, or the intuition, is not just on voice shopping. There are hundreds and thousands of customers all across India who've purchased Echo devices. They are interacting millions of times in English, Hindi, English. Again, as Nikhil talked about, the Hindi model training, etc., and asking for a variety of inputs: music, information, jokes, and smart home. And these are not just customers who come to us from the metros like Delhi or Bombay, but these are also from smaller cities like Spiti, Bandi, Gadchiroli. And creating this experience for them has required us to do a lot of in country innovation. The first thing is India is unlike any other country. It's almost it is a subcontinent. So the language changes every 100 kilometers. Each language has accents and idioms. So when we first launched, Alexa needed to understand like the nuances and context of every customer speech that's going to happen, and we had to unlearn a lot of things that we'd learned from the US. So even if the customer doesn't speak English very well, not very grammatically, you could ask for any regional song and Alexa needed to play it. And that's the moment of customer delight that Alexa would bring. And that's where the intuition comes in, where Alexa is able to understand what the customer is saying, even if the customer is not saying it perfectly and grammatically. And from the time Alexa launched in India, she could understand proper nouns in Hindi, Marathi, Gujarati, Kannada, and so on. And we focus on relentlessly improving this year over year because that's a primary aspect of delight. And it's not complex high-tech stuff. There's also a lot of fun ways. We've got brands and developers who want to engage with users via voice with very personalized and immersive engagement experiences. We have over 30,000 skills on Alexa that cover the gamut of the ABCDE consumption: astrology, Bollywood, cricket, devotion. And Alexa is now an integral part of many Indian households. And the voice interactions just lower the barrier to embrace technology across all age groups. And we just want to continue innovating on behalf of our customers to make Alexa more relevant and useful and intuitive.
Thanks, Deepa. Kanishka, coming to you, the technologies that Nikhil and Deepa were referring about for the last few minutes were actually required a lot of scalable infrastructure to handle the workloads and provide the best customer experience. Now, from an AWS perspective, Kanishka, can you just explain how AWS is playing a role in enabling startup focus in the business while AWS manages their infrastructure needs?
Sure. Thanks, Anil. The way we look at the entire gamut of startups, and our focus has been since 2019 that we will go ahead and support early stage startups, especially those that are helping government customers accelerate their mission. And if you look at the way government customers typically build their entire mission statements and their solutions, they require not just nimble startups, but startups that can have a very cost optimized architecture, people that can scale up and scale down, because the way you see demand coming in, especially for public sector, it could move up and down based on how it is being consumed over a period of time. So startups are required to bring in a very robust scalable architecture, at the same time keep it lean because they want to keep their costs low as they start scaling up. And that's where I think Amazon Web Services step in. We do have an extremely cost effective model to provide startups access to all of these on demand compute resources on a pay as you go model. I mean, think of it today just like electricity, right? When you switch on a switch for a bulb, you essentially pay for only the time that you consume that electricity for, and the minute you switch it off, you don't pay for it. And that's very similar how AWS and the pay as you go model works. And we are dedicated to help our startups achieve what we call as the highest saving potential on the technology spends. Just about recently, we actually launched the AWS Startup Ramp, which is an acceleration program that will help these early stage startups to develop innovative solutions for public sector customers. And this is not just limited to a set of public sector organizations, but it will span across the national and the local government bodies. It will go across space, defense, healthcare, agriculture, name it. But anything that is out there for citizen impact, the Amazon Startup Ramp program will help. With this program, you can actually have all of these qualifying startups start getting low cost, very simple to use infrastructure that's designed for them to scale up and scale down, as well as grow a business at any point in time. During the entire development phase that we saw during this program, we actually worked with several startups, some of them, especially in the agri space, for example, TraceX or Unmiti, or for example, a fintech startup, which is Whirl. All of these were very focused on extremely distinct needs that the government technology sector needs. Because these startups are so unique, as AWS, we do want to make sure that they're able to scale up and drive citizen impact.
Hey, thanks, Ganesh. But so, do you manage the enablement and scale innovation yourself, or do you work with external partners? Do you have some view or examples on that?
Sure. This works both ways. In a lot of senses, we actually partner with organizations, including government bodies, to drive scale. Take for instance, last year we actually set up one of our world's first federal cloud innovation center with Niti Aayog, which we christened as Frontier Technologies Cloud Innovation Center. And what that really does is it addresses the core mission of identifying and deploying leading edge technologies. Take ML, take blockchain, take IoT, take AR, VR. All of these technologies being deployed at scale for citizen impact. As a specific example, in fact, Niti Aayog now, under the aegis of the CIC, as we call it, the Cloud Innovation Center, collaborated with the DigiYatra Foundation for a DigiYatra Central Ecosystem Challenge for Indian startups. And maybe this is interesting because a lot of you do travel domestically as air passengers. Today you use a boarding pass to get into an aircraft, navigate through the entire airport. But slowly you will be able to use just your face as a biometric validation. And it's a real-time selfie-based facial recognition that will get a seamless, contactless, safe, frictionless travel across the point that you actually enter an airport to the point you disembark during your travel. Take the pandemic itself, and during both the waves, actually, more so during the first wave, NASCOM actually got in touch with us and said, can we actually put out a data platform that can just provide information across those various government data sets or public/private data sets that were coming in and provide insights of what's happening. And we did that with the government of Telangana. We put out close to about 100 dashboards, which had hundreds and thousands of COVID-related data points for use. And this became a huge NASCOM project for us to showcase. Similarly, during the first wave, there was a lot of restrictions in the way movement of goods and vehicles used to happen. And the e-governments foundation collaborated with us to develop what we called as the National COVID-19 e-pass solution. And this was really put out in 72 hours. And that should tell you the scale in which cloud really works. That within 72 hours, we were able to get a digital pass management system that was deployed across multiple states. And while there was a lockdown, it could still ensure smooth movement of any essential service provider across or within the states. When the second wave happened, we were faced with a very unique problem. There was a lot of donor aid that was coming in from, and this was foreign donor aid, which was coming into the country. And people had no way to track it. So when the donor would send in, they had no way to know whether it reached the end beneficiary. The government by itself had a lot of siloed views of this donor aid coming in, and they had no idea where should they allocate it. Was it the right place to send it? Did they have to send the concentrators to a particular location? Or did it have too much of it and it had to be rerouted elsewhere? And Niti Aayog got in touch with us and said, can you actually put out a relief portal that will have an end-to-end monitoring of this supply chain and tracking of all of this aid? And in about 5 days, we put out something called the COVID, which was a relief portal that had an end-to-end flow of the aid. It was able to determine who got it. And therefore, the donors actually had confidence that their aid finally reached the necessary beneficiary or the recipient and was most gainfully employed. Uh, Going a little ahead outside of the pandemic, we today work with the Common Services Center. And you'll find several of these, not just in tier one or tier two cities, but across all of the nation. And there are, I believe, about 2 lakh plus of these Common Services Center that drive a lot of citizen services at grassroots level. And they have access points basically for all of their essential public utility services. Think of social welfare schemes, think of any services related to land records, healthcare, finance, so people could go in and use these places. And now today we are enabling the Common Services Center with our services to help them scale up each of these solutions, and not just that, also provide some gainful employment for the rural economy of the country. And to finally cap this, earlier this year, we actually worked with the Ministry of Electronics and Information IT. This was METI, that helped establish what we called as the Quantum Computing Applications Lab. And this is, again, something we wanted to see that can accelerate quantum computing led research to drive new development, to enable new scientific discoveries. So Anil, to your point, yes, there are a number of these institutes as well as government bodies that we today work with to drive citizen impact.
Thanks, Kanish. Coming to you, Nikhil, Kanish was just mentioning about some of the citizen services provided during the pandemic. Now, from your space in terms of AI and ML, and where we have an expertise for more than 2 decades now, can you share any recent example where the team worked on that actually helped during the pandemic, both the waves?
Yeah, no, I mean the last 18 months, right? I mean we've focused on areas that would keep people safe. So I mean the whole intent was that the business still needs to run, people still need to get things, and how can we do that in a safe way, right? And how do we help people get what they want during these trying times, right? So I mean we have been focusing on a couple of applications, both how do you enable safer delivery and also keep our employees safe. So one very interesting app I would give an example of is the CRISP mobile app, right? So we developed CRISP, which stands for COVID Risk Score Prediction. It's a mobile app to detect and tackle the spread of COVID-19 amongst the workers in the fulfillment centers and sorting centers and so on, right? So this app uses Bluetooth signals from mobile to track social contacts between users, and it generates a risk infection score for every employee. So if an associate which has a very high risk score, you can prioritize them for testing, right? So the model was built off the SEIR, which stands for Susceptible, Exposed, Infectious, Removed approach. That's commonly used to track different epidemiological status of individuals. So our model captures the transition between these different states, from susceptible to exposed to infectious to removed, while also accounting for the test outcomes. And a lot of ML went behind making sure the outcomes are reliable and confident. So we developed a block gift sampling algorithm to draw samples of the latent infection status of each individual, given data about contacts and test results. And these infection status samples are then used to compute infection risk score for each individual. So the goal was to track adherence to social distancing of our associates in various locations, like, again, as I said, fulfillment centers, sort centers, or delivery stations. So this allowed the supervisors to take appropriate interventions.
Yeah, thanks, Nikhil. I just want to continue with you, and it was interesting you called out social distancing. I think that's one of the mantras of our life nowadays. So I just wanted to understand about areas where ML has integrated into our system and some kind of a uh, impact, small or big, for customers positively. An example of an area where your team in India would have worked with other teams across the world in Amazon.
Yeah, machine learning is sometimes integrated so well into the system, and it works so seamlessly in the background that the customers are not even aware that a machine learning system was used to provide that experience that they are observing, right? But it becomes an essential part of the entire ecosystem. For example, we enrich products in an automated fashion to improve the catalog health, right? A lot of people list products on Amazon, and then a lot of information is provided. If the information is not in the right structure, or if information is missing, it leads to dissatisfaction at the time of purchase. So we build models to categorize products, and behind the scenes, make sure it's in the right category, information such as the RAM size and the color, the material, and all that, which is useful for customers to filter products. Make sure those are all filled in. So this all happens behind the scenes, and it's all powered through machine learning, right? So in fact, both these solutions I'm talking about, we built, we launched two projects for the same, and they were launched worldwide. While we have made great strides in this direction, we are constantly looking for newer ways to continue to double down our efforts in developing technologies to continuously innovate and build the best shopping experience for customers by working backwards from their needs.
Kanishka, coming to you, can you tell us how AWS services in developing innovations have really made a citizen impact at scale in this country, specifically during the pandemic?
Sure. And I think we've seen this, especially during the pandemic, right? And it's been a massive shift in the way scale has come into bear. Look at the entire vaccination program, or look at the entire COVID triaging, the post COVID house monitoring programs, and so on and so forth. I think more and more public sector organizations have had a chance to see how cloud technologies can help accelerate their digital transformation, and how they can drive innovation much faster to benefit citizens, and in turn the national economy. Take for instance the project Step One, and we're extremely proud of having worked with them and continue to work with them. Project Step One really was born out of the pandemic. This is a non-profit, volunteer-led initiative that really augments existing government resources with either technology, people, or processes. This has about 1,000 plus doctors enlisted, about 5,000 plus volunteers enlisted on them. And what it does is it goes ahead, it integrates with the government processes and systems, and provides appropriate telemedicine support for COVID affected citizens. And all of this is free of charge to the citizens. It's pro bono to the government, which goes to my earlier point, right? That then any startup that needs to provide services, especially for citizen impact, needs to keep their costs low. And in this case, well, when the service is offered for free and pro bono, then there is a bigger pressure coming in on keeping their entire infrastructure extremely nimble. Now, since about March 2020, Step One has worked in about 21 states. They've gone ahead, done things like pre COVID triaging, COVID positive triaging, home isolation monitoring, and then further on long COVID support. And their entire technology stack is today hosted on AWS Cloud. And that's only because, one, it offers the best in class tools, and it's managed services which are very essential for an organization like Step One. And you would say, well, what's so unique about Step One, right? You could have this hosted anywhere else. The key USP is that Step One has not a single DevOps person. It probably has one or two volunteers that manage the IT deployment, but beyond that, there are no DevOps persons. So everything is out of the box on AWS, and that becomes a quick agility that Step One has. To react very quickly to either the rise in cases or the fall in cases. So when the second wave went up between that April May timeframe, Step One was able to ramp up very quickly on this infrastructure. But then as it started tapering down and as it started falling, it was able to quickly scale down as well and start saving costs. And that's where we provide those managed versions for any open source software that is out there to deploy and scale.
Hey, thanks. Coming to you, Deepa, Nikhil was mentioning about training data and algorithms that were created in Hindi. Can you tell us something more about how Alexa is catering to a faster growing user base, which probably is more comfortable in engaging in native languages?
Absolutely, Anil. When we started out, as I said, we had to understand content in all the different languages, and we now support news experiences in multiple languages, multiple regional languages: Tamil, Telugu, Urdu, Marathi, Bengali. And one of the biggest steps that we took was actually to support Hindi interactions itself, and this happened late about late 2018 or so. And Alexa could then understand customers who were speaking to her completely in Hindi or in English. And English was important because Indians speak in mixed languages. There's a sentence in English or a sentence in Hindi, and we wanted Alexa to be able to interact with all family members and reply either in English or in Hindi based on who is speaking to her and in what language. And we built this support by a bilingual ASR system. And this is what we call as Alexa's multilingual mode. So you could have one question in Hindi, one question in English, and Alexa would seamlessly switch between the two to keep the conversation going. And we also needed to understand a lot of cultural and subcultural context within Hindi. So we started seeing content requests that were unique. We had to support Haryanvi music, which we'd not really encountered at scale earlier. We created content such as Shairi, which was like a whole new segment of content that we'd not had earlier. And today, customers can say, Alexa, Bollywood ke latest gaane bajao ya cricket score batao. And despite having mixed script in there, it all just works very, very well. And it goes back to creating like this intuitive experience for a native speaker. And one of the most recent things that happened, which was just last week, is the availability of Amitabh Bachchan's voice now on Alexa. And he's the biggest icon on Indian cinema. Most Indians can recognize his voice. And we have poems, anecdotes, there's a lot of interesting information. And this is another big milestone in localizing Alexa so that the service is more delightful and entertaining. And we call this as the Desi Alexa. And we have pronunciation and diction that's different even within Hindi, so we are continuing to learn. There are many requests or words that we may not understand just as yet. So we continue to expand understanding in local languages. Customers are being very patient with us, and we totally appreciate it. We take their feedback, and we are taking the time to make sure that Alexa can learn more, and we'll use the latest advancements in ML and neural networks to make sure that Alexa gets smarter. And it's always day one here, so we've got a way to go.
Thanks, Deva. I will continue with you now because how about the changing trends in customer engagement? Have you seen any marked differences between customer engagements with Alexa pre-COVID and during the pandemic?
Oh, absolutely. So I think COVID-19 has definitely changed all our lives. And Alexa is a trusted companion for our customers. And Alexa has had to keep pace as well. So over the last year and a half, as we're all spending more time at home, remotely managing lives, all of the lines between work and play and home has all blurred. Many of our routines have changed. So we needed to like sort of set up new routines. And predictably, we saw customers asking for more health related queries. That was almost a 3 times increase. So we had a question almost every 15 seconds, and questions were on about COVID. We had a symptom checker that we had launched. There was questions on like health benefits of food items, treatments for common ailments, all of which we supported. We saw a lot of interest in workout music as people started thinking about how do you keep yourself going in the pandemic. So we had workout music requests. The 7-minute workout skill just became really popular in March, when I think we all wanted to get the most out of the least amount of time. So and we also saw requests for simple things like, Alexa, remind me to drink water. And it just talks about how much our lives have changed when you need a reminder from Alexa to do something as simple as that. And I think what was most touching for me as a product owner to see is uh, Alexa also got lots of love and affection. And just like you would ask a family member, people were concerned about Alexa's well being. And almost 3 times every minute, we got asked, Alexa, kaisi ho, or Alexa, how are you? Which is just quite nice to see that people are personifying Alexa.
Hey, thanks, Deepa. Very touching. I think we're almost out of time. Nikhil, you had some very interesting stories about ML at Amazon. What would be your suggestions for youngsters who want to build an aspiring career in AI ML at Amazon?
Yeah, no, I think it's clear now that ML is one of the most disruptive technologies we will encounter in our generation, and customers today are applying machine learning to the core of their businesses, and this is not only in retail, across the industry, healthcare, retail, media, finance services, manufacturing. everybody is leveraging machine learning, to help their customers better, serve them better, to gain advantages using machine learning, right? And I think what has changed in machine learning for the past 5, 7 years is it's no longer only about science or research, right? We are talking about applied science now, right? And when we get to an application of machine learning, there are a lot more skill sets, a lot more things one needs to be careful about. What is the cost of innovation, deployment? The models deteriorate over time because they are based on data. How do we, have systems which self improve over time? And so there are a lot of interesting innovations that are being done in this space of machine learning, applied to business problems. So if you're passionate about technology and want to make a difference to customers' life, then I think Amazon is a perfect place for you.
Thanks, Nikhil. Deepa, you must be hiring a lot of people into your Alexa journey, isn't it? So, what would be your suggestion to the younger talent as to who wants to join your team?
Oh, we've got a lot of diverse career paths within Alexa. So there's as many roles that index on the left brain as the right brain. So it's not just a world full of research scientists and data engineers, etc. So we've got roles in software development, research, and ML, but we also have roles in research for people who can help us understand what customers want, voice design to create these new interaction paradigms, linguists and language engineers who come and work with us in the language understanding space. And there are a lot of creative roles in content and marketing. So uh, it's a very diverse bag. Our journey is just starting. Yeah, Alexa in overall is very, very young. There's a lot that we need to understand and create for the customer. So we would love for people who have a true builder's mindset, who are thinking big, curious to learn, unlearn, willing to define and redefine the space for the customer to come and join us.
Thanks, Deepa. Kanishka, you are with AWS and AWS, and you were mentioning about AWS working very closely with public sector, state government, central government agencies, and particularly during the pandemic. So, what will be your suggestion to talent, who would want to work in that space within AWS?
Sure. I think there's something, and probably a lot of people have probably heard this earlier. At AWS, we don't mind being called peculiar. We see a lot of beauty in simplifying very complex tasks, and we're comfortable with being misunderstood in the long term. And that sounds very unorthodox, but our very unusual approach and our culture that's focused on removing obstacles so that builders can build, just like Deepa just mentioned, are really a part why our employees enjoy working at AWS. And I want to talk about three specific pillars that we are on. Right, we're very, very unusually customer focused. Almost about 90% of what we build is what customers ask us. And the other 10% that we actually build is things that we hear from customers that they may not be able to articulate. But we try and read between the lines and invent on their behalf. The second is that we are pioneers. We like to hire builders who would look at customer experiences that are flawed, and then figure out how to reinvent in those. In a space like cloud that's moving this fast, to be working with a company that has the most functionality, that's probably iterating the quickest, that has the largest community, that had a vision for cloud from the start without actually having to patch together acquisitions, I think that's very attractive. And third, most importantly, we're, like I said, we're very, very long term oriented. You will not see our folks end up at a customer's door just a day before the year end or the end of the quarter, and try to get them into a sale, and not to be seen again for the year. We are trying to build a relationship and a business that will last a lot longer than all of us in this room. So for people who like to build, I would say there's absolutely no better place to build than AWS.
Thanks, Kanishka. With that, I think we are almost coming to the end of this panel discussion. I would once again thank my colleagues, the folks in the panel, Nikhil, Deepa, and Kanishka, for sharing the views. I would really like to thank all of you who have logged in for this fantastic session. I'm assuming that it has been a very interesting and very informative session as well. So thanks again. Stay tuned and have a good rest of the day.
Great stuff. so exciting to learn how Amazon is harnessing new technologies to generate a societal impact. What a great way to wrap up our show today. With this, we come to an end of the main stage programming of Amazon India Career Day. Our recruiters will be continuing their one-on-one career coaching sessions for the rest of the day, so many more of you will be able to seek information about the application and interview process at Amazon and discuss resume tips. If you missed any of our programming, you can find it on demand in a few minutes at amazoncareerday.com. Also, you can learn more about the corporate, tech, and operations positions currently available at Amazon at amazon.jobs. We have thousands of positions open right now, and I encourage you to apply. Before we go, I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who contributed to making this first ever India Career Day possible. Sincere thanks to our moderators, panelists, employees who shared a plethora of information and trivia with us. Thank you from all of us at Amazon to everyone who joined us today from all over India as well as from other countries. We hope you found the sessions interesting and informative, and there was something for all of you to take away from the sessions. Amazon wishes each and every one of you success in your career journey. Come and build the future with us. I'm Rashi Bishnoi, signing off for Amazon Career Day. Thank you.